Speedrunning has a simple goal: complete the objective in the shortest possible time. The lengths speedrunners go to find time saves can be quite remarkable, with some people finding the process of discovering and theorising new strategies to be just as enjoyable as performing the run itself. The quest to achieve a perfect run appears to be never-ending, because perfection is a concept that can never truly be reached. There is always time on the table, and seemingly untouchable world records have fallen after years at the top. However, with a specific set of circumstances, that might not actually be the case. I give you MechWarrior 3, Operation 4, Mission 2. The in-game timer shows this as being a 0-second run. However, it's a tiny bit more complicated than that. This isn't an auto-win scenario, as there actually is in-mission player input required to achieve this time. In this video, we're going to take a look at Operation 4 Mission 2 and everything that led up to this unbeatable speedrun. Of all the missions in the MechWarrior 3 campaign, Op4 Mission 2 has perhaps the simplest of all objectives. To complete the mission, the player must destroy a village, which is made up of 45 target buildings, and then destroy a laser tower. Whilst these objectives are reasonably straightforward, the challenge is supposed to come from the large enemy force bearing down on the player. Of course, when speedrunning, this does become a non-factor. The earliest known example of a MechWarrior 3 speedrun was performed in 2008 by the runner Pendrakar. Pendrakar performed a series of single-segment speedruns that set the template for the runs of today. Whilst many of the strategies employed are now outdated, the run was performed to a very high skill level and is still impressive to look back on. For Op4 Mission 2, Pendrakar opted to go with a strategy of heavy armour and high damage output. With the help of friendly units, heavy weapons are used to quickly destroy the village before turning to destroy the laser tower from long range. The time achieved was 1 minute 13 seconds, which secured the very first world record for this mission. It was years until MechWarrior 3 speedrunning saw activity again, with the runner Kit completing the first speedrun of the full campaign in September of 2019. Kit's time on Op4 Mission 2 was 4 minutes and 31 seconds, significantly slower than the time previously set by Pendrakar. However, it is important to recognise the difference between an individual level speedrun and one that is part of a full game run. In the MechWarrior 3 campaign, mechs, weapons and equipment carries over between missions. Taking losses in one mission can have a significant impact on the next. Kit may have had that in mind, as this run prioritises defensive play and destruction of enemy mechs over focusing on the mission objectives. Kit's world record was beaten in October of 2020 by the runner Eric Mark X. In this run, Eric employed a similar strategy to Kit, but with slightly more urgency and a greater focus on objectives. Some enemy mechs were destroyed, but not all. The final time for this mission being 4 minutes and 4 seconds. 2 months later, and Eric had bettered his own world record, which included a significant improvement on Op4 Mission 2. In this run, Eric focused purely on the mission objectives and completely ignored all enemy mechs to score a time of 1 minute 55 seconds. In April of 2022, I set a new world record full game run. I focused on using lighter, faster mechs, and that strategy showed in Operation 4 Mission 2. The time achieved was 1 minute and 29 seconds. 1 month later, I had improved on my own record and achieved a 1 minute 18 second run for this mission. Although improvements were being made, this time was still slower than Pendrakar's. It was at this point that I turned my attention to individual level speedruns and set out to best the records achieved all those years ago. As it turned out, the record would fall that same month, but not through better playing. It was the discovery of a new glitch that significantly changed the way the mission was run and allowed for a new world record time of just 38 seconds. This was improved on again in July of 2022, with the record then sitting at 35 seconds. The glitch used made the buildings much easier to destroy, which allowed for objectives to be completed significantly quicker and for much faster mechs to be used. This strategy was carried over into subsequent full game runs, with times of 48, 48, and 50 seconds being achieved in later full game world records. It is at this point that we return to the 0-second run. Preparing for future attempts at the full game record, I was spending time exploring each operations area, looking for any potential exploit opportunities that may have been missed. It is important to understand how the MechWarrior 3 campaign actually works. The short version is that the game is made up of operations areas, a large map divided into smaller maps which make up the individual missions. This creates a greater level of immersion for the player as each mission leads directly on from the last, and also has the advantage of reducing loading times. Certain resources and objects are loaded into the game when the operations area is loaded for the first time. This happens to include the objectives in Operation 4 Mission 2. Whilst exploring the map in Op 4 Mission 1, I discovered that it was possible to reach and destroy the Op 4 Mission 2 objectives before even playing that mission. This exact strategy is used earlier in the run, but I had not yet found any other opportunities to exploit it. But where things change significantly is that we can access all of the Op 4 Mission 2 objectives in the previous mission. Once those buildings are destroyed, I'm able to continue on with Op 4 Mission 1 and complete it as normal. This then means that, when going into Operation 4 Mission 2, the objectives of that mission are already complete before it even begins. There's literally nothing else that the player needs to do. The mission can be completed the moment it starts. As mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is not an auto-win scenario. The runner still needs to manually exit the mission for the run to complete. My first attempt resulted in a 1-second run, and amusingly I found I was able to improve on this by remapping the end mission key into something that could be pressed quicker. Where things get a little interesting for me though, is that I'm actually not 100% sure on how to time it. The usual process would be to count frames, but looking at the video I can't actually see any frames that show the game in a state that the player would have control over, even though the game has clearly received an input to end the mission. As a result, I've counted it as being a single frame, because surely a 0-frame run just isn't physically possible, right? An online calculator indicates a single frame at 30 frames per second results in a time of 0.033 seconds, which is what I've gone with. Speedrunning is something that I'm relatively new at, and I know that many of you are likely to be more experienced at this than I am. So if there's something that you think I've missed or not considered, please let me know in the comments. I've looked for information and guidance on how to handle scenarios such as this and have found very little to go off. I have also recently started a Discord server. You can find a link for that in the description. Love to chat to you there if you've got anything you think I should know. The final point to cover in this video is what this means for MechWarrior 3 speedrunning as a whole. Obviously, from an individual level standpoint, there's really not much else to be said. This run is repeatable and should be something that any runner of the game would be able to achieve once they have completed the setup in the previous mission. But the part that I'm most excited about now is the way this opens up full game speedruns. Operation 4 Mission 1 requires the player to destroy a train that only spawns 3 minutes into the mission. Unless someone discovers a way to complete this objective prior to the train spawning, the mission can't be done any faster. This leaves a lot of extra time on the table. Previously, this had been dead time, with lots of runs featuring players just sitting around, waiting for the 3-minute mark. However, with this new discovery, strategies will change in a big way, as it will be a race to destroy as many objectives from Op 4 Mission 2 as possible before the train spawns in. The current record run sees Op 4 Mission 2 completed in 50 seconds, plus approximately 13 seconds to set up the glitch used. Even if the runner is only able to destroy the laser tower objective prior to the mission, there is still a potential for at least 30 seconds of time save, which on a time that already sits at under a minute is huge. I've recently completed a series of videos detailing how to speedrun MechWarrior 3, as well as step-by-step instructions on how to get the game running. If you're interested in having a go at a MechWarrior 3 speedrun, these videos will give you everything you need to get started, regardless of if you're an experienced player or a total newcomer. It's a great way to challenge yourself and a lot of fun, and I'd love to see others getting involved. I'm always happy to share my learnings, so please reach out here or on my Discord anytime. I'll be taking advantage of this new strategy and other recent discoveries in the near future as I continue to chase new records. As stated at the beginning of this video, this quest is never ending and I can't wait to see where it leads me. When that time comes, I hope you'll join me. Until then, bye for now.